the game. I'm your host, Jim John, the critic with my hair boy, Gerard. We got a good episode for y'all today. A lot of drama over the weekend, especially with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever and the Sky game that happened this past weekend on Saturday. It was a good game, I would say, but we got to start off with the hot topic of the day. Cheney Carter's foul. Was it
I think it's
fair
still. I think
or
it's still
was it not
Kennedy.
fair?
You
You think
caught
it's
her.
still Kennedy?
I think it's. I think it's Kennedy. It's just. It's a unique
Well, they
spell.
say it's. I mean, literally, it's spelled Kennedy. It's CH. Huh?
Yeah. It's. I'm pretty sure it's still Kennedy. It's a. It's not. It's not conventional. I've never seen it spelled that way, but I think it's Kennedy. So, what was the question?
Yeah. Was her foul? Was it part of the? Well, clearly it wasn't part of the game, and it was a. Oh, you could say out of bounds play with the way she did it and just off the inbound play. But just to give more context to it, with her yapping back and forth, Caitlin Clark is known to be a talker and a trash talker, but she keeps it within the game. This particular play seems to go outside of the normal bounds of the game in which people have all reacted to it, and it coincided with the narrative that people are out in the league are out to get her, don't like her, jealousy, envy. And the question was that particular play, was it a foul, or was it something part of the game where that's just something that's gonna happen if you keep talking shit in the W.
It's a little of both. It's mostly it was foul. I don't think Kennedy should have done that on the possession before. Caitlin was yapping back at her. It was going, back at it.
All right.
I don't think the play should have necessarily happened like that. Not when it's so blatant like that. That's my thing is if you're fouling within the game, it's a hard foul, but you're still trying to go for the ball or something, or it's like you can kind of push that off as this is what the league is because it's much more physical than people who do not watch think it is. They talk a lot of trash, they're a lot more catty, and they are still physical. Physical. Just because they're women or you
Right.
don't watch them or whatever, it doesn't mean they don't get down just as much as the NBA players do, if not more. Overall, though, I don't think it's foul when we talk about Caitlin Clark, and her whole experience. Do I think she's being targeted a little bit? Yes. Reese should be being targeted. She's bringing in all these eyes and stuff to the W and stuff like that. And so some people, maybe they're trying to make a run at, like, if I show out versus Caitlin Clark, like Cheney Carter, because people are talking about this foul she had, but I think she dropped like 17, 18 points or something like that. She had a really good game coming off the bench for Sky. So now people know Cheney Carter who would now have known her. Some people are looking at it
She
like that. But others, I think it is just kind of like Caitlyn is a trash talker, like you said. Not everything she does is like people are trying to make it
right.
seem. Some people are trying to make it seem like she's so innocent and she's just this girl from Iowa who just shoots the ball and stuff and she's harmless. No, she's out there talking
She got
trash.
plays where she's been
Yeah,
aggressive on the opposite end.
I've got a few clips bookmarked in my Twitter of Caitlin Clark flopping
Yeah.
or hitting somebody, pushing somebody off, doing some stuff and I wouldn't be like, oh, Caitlin's a dirty player. It's just part of the game. Somebody said on Twitter to me, like, she's Reggie Miller. And if people who remember Reggie Miller could be really scrappy. I mean, he can shoot, he can do all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I think it's just part of the game. People trying to make this more than what it is. But Kennedy Carter's play specifically, I think was probably a little bit overboard.
I do believe that the play was definitely overboard, out of play. But I will say, in like the essence and the flow of the game in which it happened, it didn't look like anything where it was just like, oh, it was unnecessary. The flagrant one foul, totally agree with. I do believe that if she would have done this within the play of the game, where if say they was trying to get a rebound and she happened to hip check her, we're not making a big deal about it. And even still, like we're like, if this is any other player, we're still not making a big deal about it. The only reason why this is a big deal is because is literally Caitlin Clark, and the whole narrative and all the news that's going around. Like you got even big news media picking this up, like CNN. I was on Twitter this morning seeing CNN talk about this. I'm like, dog, this is really generating a lot of buzz, and it's so for people who watch the WA and who like I would say a basketball truest of the WNBA understand that like this is nothing more than just a rookie who needs tough loving. I mean, you can say hard feelings in the game, just the heat of the emotions, all those things above. But even within the state of the game, like Kennedy Carter, she's known to be a dog, and she literally said that in the press conference yesterday when she was with Reese, and she was like, I classify myself as a dog. And if you just go back and watch any of the years in Atlanta, even in that one stint when she was in LA, she been a dog, and everybody from all the analysts at ESPN, all the women analysts who do the WNBA, they have said that she is a dog, and this is the type of person of her caliber who does these type of things, and that's kind of why she had the career that she has or whatever. But she's also become very effective in the Sky system coming off the bench. I think leading the W, I think in bench points, I think this year as well. And just from a couple of games, if you just watch, she's really good off the bench. I mean, she made all rookie team her first year in Atlanta. So this is not somebody who's just some ordinary person. Like, she was a dog back in college. She clearly was nice in her rookie year. She made the all rookie team as well. But I will say, in the sense that Caitlin Clark, she's gonna have to toughen up, because I agree, there are a lot of times where she's flopping. I feel like she's on the floor way too much, but also, like, her teammates need to have her back, and I feel like the coach needs to have her back. Like, they're worrying about getting fined and things like that. But there's been a lot of plays in the WNBA, and a lot of people don't get fined for it. But, like, I think making a stance and and standing up for your teammate is not something that you're going to get fined for, especially if the league is seeing it in the way where they're like, okay, this is in the foul of play, versus what Kennedy Carter did, where this is kind of the outside the norm of it, where it's on an inbound play, no actual basketball interaction was happening at that particular moment. But I wanna ask, like, why do you think the league has went in this forward direction of just promoting Caitlin Clark as this lone star and not kind of protecting the overall asset of the WNBA, but just her for some reason?
I don't even know if it's so much the league as it is the fans who saw Caitlyn at Iowa, the ones who are not watching the games,
The
who are only
media,
seeing this clip, or the ones who only watch, they're not even watching.
yeah,
I feel like the people who are defending Caitlyn as much for some of these things are not watching all the games. I've watched every single Fever game this season. I've watched most WNBA games this season. I bought the league pass. I'll be locked in. Like, when we're done with this, I'm going to watch all of the games tonight in full. So it's usually people who are not watching the
or
games
game pass,
who have all these opinions and stuff. As far as the W, even
yeah,
if they are backing her, which they are, with commercials and stuff and the promotion on Twitter. I mean, let's be honest. Last year, I feel like was a gradual come up in some ways for the league, but I don't know if they had a face, like, and I mean a face for the casual viewer who does not watch to get behind. We know the faces
mm.
maybe.
You don't think Asia? You don't think Asia or
No.
Brianna Stewart
I
could be one of those?
no listen. I think that, but I watch. They've been around for a few years, and yeah, they
Yeah,
get pushed. They weren't getting pushed the same way. The W didn't really get, even last year. I think it came on a bit, and then Sabrina being in the All Star 3-point contest with Steph, that helped. But even then, there wasn't a face for
yeah,
casual viewers who do not watch to kind of watch the W. So I think, yeah, she's going to be the face of the league. It makes sense for the league to get behind her. I just think what the league should do is, when they're doing commercials or all this other stuff, instead of just making it, well, here's a Caitlin Clark game, or here's the Indiana Fever facing blah 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 with Caitlin Clark. You say, part of commercials, Caitlin Clark.
yeah,
Here's who she is. Y'all know who she is. You love her. Blah blah blah. Then you say, but here's who she's facing. You do this for every team, no matter how good or bad they are. So you're talking about the Aces. You need to talk about how they're on the
yeah,
verge of a dynasty with the MVP frontrunner. When you're talking about a team as low as the Sparks, or 2-6 right now, you can still mark that as number one pick versus number two pick. But every team she faces, you need to define who's her opposition. So when the people who are watching for Caitlin Clark, they're going to remember, well, I remember the last time they played this team, this is who was over there. And so when they start saying, okay, well, I seen the Fever play Arike Ogunbowale in the Wings, maybe I can watch a Wings game versus a team that's not the Fever and kind of know who these teams are.
right. I mean, that kind of go back to what you were saying about what you were saying about Kennedy Carter, and how they'll now know who Kennedy Carter is, and probably now, in a sense, kind of be more tuned in into watching a Sky game, not even just because of Angel Reese, but now just to see if Kennedy Carter gonna do something and see if this is kind of like a repeated pattern of hers where she has this reckless behavior, hip checking people and stuff like that, just to kind of build the case again and to help Caitlin Clark in this sense. I will say that the media does a way worse job because the media is just as uneducated as the viewers are because since the media has failed to actually portray the WNBA in a more, I would say, promotional way and kind of just letting it be known instead of just glancing over the championship run that the Aces had or MVP run that Brianna Stewart had or something like that, or just something where it kind of meets their eye for them to talk about it. Something like what happens with the NCAA tournament when you had Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark versus South Carolina. They The way that the media is being ran is only through a big ticketed area where they're saying we only want to do what the viewers will look like. But in a sense, like I'm not sure if you watched First Take the other day, but however, Monica McNutt made a great point when she told Stephen A that he could have been doing this 3 years ago, which in most cases I will agree with, simply because as much as Stephen A mentions Asia Wilson being on his All-Star team, he has not once promoted the Aces in a way where we're saying, "Oh, we should be tuning in into the WNBA." And as much as he runs and produces a lot of the stuff at ESPN, he could have been a way more front runner than what he is. And now in this position, and even to the extent now, like I said, with just what media does in a sense now, they make it so bad because like Caitlin Clark can have a bad game. Like just even I think on Sunday when they played the Liberty, she only had 3 points. Now most people didn't even know they even played that on Sunday, but you came up on Monday morning. Guess what they were talking about? Caitlin Clark. What happened on Saturday? Not what happened Monday. That she only had 3 points and that the Liberty shut her out, and that she and then but not even in the fact in the same game versus the Sky that she was even from making those two threes in the first quarter, she was 0 for like 7 through the rest of the game. Nobody mentioned anything like that. Nobody mentioned the poor play that she's. I mean, granted, she won Rookie of the Month, and that's all indicative of who she is and kind of what she contributes. But like also the rest of the rookie class does not have the same amount of attempts or shot attempts or just the position that she is to continue to try to will her teams in most games. Like Cameron Brink should probably and Angel Reese are definitely up there as well. I'm assuming maybe 2 or 3, I believe. But just the way that the media has been running rampant with it also makes it look very bad. That nobody no like we don't care about the WNBA. We only want to see Caitlyn, and that's it. And that's just not a good message to send because then you can obviously can see, but you also can just like feel the jealousy because like just thinking about it, for instance, like if someone comes to my job and they get a promotion that I've been waiting on and I've been putting in work for like 4 or 6 years and you hire this new person on and immediately he gets but he gets the promotion that I've been in line for, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, we're doing the same exact thing. How did he get this promotion? I mean, you could see how a lot of the women would feel about that because that can happen in any situation. Just minus it being in the WNBA and it being with Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark, anything like that. And Angel Reese makes a great case also, which I love, coming out and saying that it's not just her who made this happen, who brought these eyes to it. Because if you want to split it down the middle where there is a black and white thing, because that's been another narrative that's been going around with them saying that it's racism involved in this. And me particularly, I don't see the racism issue or how is it prevalent, but I can understand where you see it and how when you draw the line, there is a black and white difference between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark because that's where it really is. Because it's always going to be two sides, one side and the other side. And no matter how you watch it, you can say that the people who really are interested in the game, they're on the side where Angel Reese is at, where they're like, it's more than just her. But then you have the people who just only here for Caitlin Clark and it's like, nope, really want to see Caitlin Clark no matter who she's playing and what she's gonna do. We expect to see big things from her. And when she's not producing these big things, or when all these little incidents are happening, or when something small on the court happens, you can see you can point to say, oh, the refs, the people in the W are jealous of her. When it's not any of that. It's just part of the game. And at this point, she got to earn her stripes within the game to make her case and who she's going to be and what kind of mark she wants to leave in the game. And truthfully,
I think
I don't know if you had
it's
anything
probably
else to say.
my last point to add to this. I feel like it's hard, and I just feel like people beat around the bush, and sometimes it's either beating around the bush or sometimes you just understand who you're talking to and you don't want to have the conversation. Race is definitely a part of this, um, to a degree, and I can give you an example on it. But I will say this: while it's a part of it for me, as someone who's like, I feel like last year is when I really got locked into the W and storylines and stuff like that for real. To me, all this
Yeah,
Caitlyn stuff in a way is more of a sideshow. Like I know a storyline. I can tell you a storyline for each team. Every game, I probably could think of
yeah,
why it's
literally,
or who I'm watching for that has nothing to do with the Fever, which is the worst team in the league, by the way. So for the
nothing.
Caitlyn Clark thing, and I'm not saying Caitlyn is bringing
The
this on
Mystics are
herself.
the worst team.
Oh yeah, the Mystics. I'm sorry. Um, I'm not saying Caitlyn Clark is bringing
Oh,
this
and
on
six.
herself per se. Um, it's not. It's not like she's asking for much. Like people are asking her questions, people are doing things to her that are obviously getting caught on camera, as far as getting checked and stuff. She's not doing that. So it's not like she's bringing this on herself per se. But like, yeah, Kennedy Carter, hits her with a little hip check. Not a cool play, not a basketball play. But Angel Reese versus Alyssa Thomas are in the Connecticut Sun. Alyssa Thomas, who finished top three in
Yeah,
MVP voting last year, is one of the faces of the league. She's my favorite player. She basically like took Angel Reese by her neck, and Angel kind of got slammed on the floor. She got ejected for that game. Um, there wasn't much coverage
clothesline her
on that.
basically.
Yeah, there wasn't much coverage on that. And to be honest, why? You can say, oh, it's not Caitlin Clark. Well, yeah, it's not Caitlin Clark, but a lot of people who know Caitlin Clark know Angel Reese. And let's be honest, two black women who do this in the game. We got a superstar, as I mentioned, and another person that a lot of people know, just like they know Caitlin Clark. If you want to call her the villain,
Right.
to Caitlin Clark being the hero or whatever, you know who Angel Reese is. And something happened to Angel Reese, a much harder foul than what happened to Caitlin Clark when it was Kennedy Carter. And it wasn't really that much coverage about it. I remember on SportsCenter, they played it like one time, but it wasn't leading first take. I don't even know if they talked about it on that. I'm not gonna act like I'd be watching the whole show, but I know it didn't lead
They
any of
talked
the
about it
show.
today.
I know they talked about it today, but I know when it first happened, it wasn't something that was leading the show or nothing. So yeah, things are a little different.
Yeah,
So to say, race isn't part of it, or people, everybody, no matter what color you are, you kind of see it, and that doesn't mean you're trying to partake in it, but we all see things for what they are, and so that's part of it. But she's also the golden goose of the league. She's the cash cow. So that on top of it, Caitlin Clark, something happens to her, just like if something happened to LeBron or Patrick Mahomes or any of those guys in any other sport, something happens to them, it's going to be front page news. And the W finally has
marquee.
a star. Yeah, the W finally has a star that even I guess casuals can tune into. Although I think Asia Wilson she should be that star, one of those stars. If Caitlin Clark is their golden goose and something happens, I can
Yeah,
see why everybody's going to get behind it. There's going to be a fuss and roar and all that good stuff.
yeah. They were. They I believe Shannon Sharp was talking about it this morning on First Take, where they brought up that clip of Angel Reese getting clotheslined by Alyssa Thomas, and that's what you saying is literally what Shannon Sharp was saying about the racism being involved, where you have these two black women who gets close and one gets clothesline and nobody picks up on it. There's no coverage on it, and you hear Angel Reese saying, "Go check the receipts. Go check the receipts," because it's a real thing. Like if you go check the receipts, you'll see multiple times that she's been clipped. Even a couple weeks ago when they played the Liberty and Jonquil Jones shoving it to the ground, elbowing her and things like that or whatever. But all those things are for them. They're in the presence of the game. So for them, they're just looking at that as like that style play. Like the play continues and goes on, but also like again like Alyssa Thomas and Angel Reese aren't the marquee player. They're not the ones they're promoting to the casual viewer to get them to get more views. However, I agree with your point when you said that Asia Wilson is my favorite player, and she should be the marquee of the league. Where you have she's the most dominant. She's the most dominant person in the league right now, leading MVP voting behind Nafisa Collier and Alyssa Thomas. Like those three. Even you can throw Brianna Stewart in there, not for this year in MVP, but just in terms of the marquee players who have been dominating the league at a successful rate and who has had an impact. Those four players should be should and could have been the marquee player for years to come. Um, to additional point. I do believe that at some point, it doesn't have to necessarily be in a way where the media has to take control of it, but this is essentially kind of what this pod is for, where minus the media just trying to glossing over Caitlin Clark. There needs to be a space where people can go and learn and be educated about the WNBA, and that is simply because the ones who are educating the people have no knowledge of it as well. There's only a select few. Like if you just want to go to like a major network like ESPN, I for one watch a lot of the shows that roll on ESPN from just through my casual work day, and Andrea Carter, Cheney, and I
L. Duncan.
believe Monica McNutt are the only three on on the ESPN network that you see throughout a daily process where you can kind of get information from. And I mean, you have like the on air broadcasters for the games and the people who do the W halftime break and stuff like that. But other than those people, there's no other way that other people are really getting informed because you can even go to the biggest stars in the entertainment business or in this space of journalism. They still don't know much about the WNBA. It's because of, again, the lack of knowledge that people they've where their eyes and the listeners aren't matching up. Like nobody, like you can say nobody wants to hear about the WNBA. Nobody wants to watch the WNBA, but no one's watching the WNBA because you're not promoting the game just as well as the league not. So if the league's not doing, the media felt like they didn't have to either. So now that the media, I mean, now that the league is starting to promote itself, there needs to be an opportunity for the media to kind of ramp up the space as well and try to educate viewers because now you're getting into now you're getting into a point where you have a lot of casual fans being unknowledgeable in a subject that could be very harmful to the players inside of it in the league itself. And I think that's like the bigger thing that the media and the players in the league need to take note of, where like as much as Angel Reese can continue to make her own comments and things like that, it doesn't do much justice if there's not people actually educating people on the game and letting them know the knowledge of the ins and out and like that. Like you said, story like even like the storylines minus the Caitlin Clark storyline, because Caitlin Clark is the sideshow. I do agree with you. She's the sideshow. She's the side quest, but she's the one that you're gonna see the most, even though like you have Asia Wilson dominating. So I think the league got to do a better job. I think it's time for them to catch up. All right, so welcome back to the show. We're going to welcome our new segment called Fan Corners. This is basically a space where we talk about our teams. Like I said, I'm a fan of the Aces. He's a fan of the Sparks. And throughout this series, you're going to see multiple clips of multiple series from all types of sports. And you can follow along with our favorite sports teams, our favorite players as well. Because if you don't know, the NBA is a players' league. And with by association, the WNBA is also a players' league. So with being said, how are you feeling about your Sparks being 2-6 at this point in the season?
I mean, I don't feel no type of way because the expectations for this particular season weren't high. I just feel like there's a lot of filler in there as far as the pieces they're trying to start this rebuild with. Like Cameron Brink,
Yeah.
she's been great so far. Rakia Jackson's been a nice pickup off coming off the bench. I think she's averaging like a 10 points per game off the bench. After that, I mean, they still got Lexi Brown, De'Erica Hamby, looking like an all WNBA type of selection. She was
I'm really proud of her.
Sixth woman of the year. I think it was 2 seasons ago. She won a couple of championships, I think, with the Aces. But she's been total beast. I'm loving it. But I can just tell this is one of those seasons where, maybe 3 or 4 years down the line, we're gonna like look at Cameron Brink and the Sparks, and then you're gonna look back at that first season and be like, she played with who are these people? Like I feel like the Sparks are laying the foundation for whatever they've got going, and it starts with Brink and it starts with Rakia Jackson, and they'll eventually get more pieces to kind of fill out the roster. This year feels like they're going through the motions, and I can tell because the day before the season, the team released Monique Billings, who was averaging like 14-9 for Dallas on a hardship contract or whatever they call it, as Satu Sabali and Natasha Howard are missing time due to injury. She's been putting up all-star numbers, and the Sparks released her the day before the season for I can't really tell you why, but that's a team that's going through the motions a little bit because Monique Billings would be terrific on this team, and that's probably why Dearica Hamby has been going off because they're kind of similar and they can just grab the ball, go coast to coast. They can make shots from the wing and stuff like that. She would have been a great piece, but I'm not upset. 2-6. That's probably where they're probably on course to where they were going to be anyway. So
So let me ask you then: is the future of the Sparks, is it centered around Cameron Brink, or is it centered around like the other pieces like maybe the Lexi Brown, Rakia Jackson, Dearica Gamby? I'm sure within like in those 3 years that you just said that all four of those people will still be there. Rakia, Cameron, Lexi, and Dearica will all still be there because I think like when I look at the Sparks game, I see those four people, and I just say like all of them can shoot. It's just a matter of consistency. Like especially like with Lexi, like Lexi can give you 21 game, then come out and give you 7 the next game, and you're wondering what the hell happened, And then like I remember, matter of fact, I've recorded a couple days after what happened with the incident with me and you and the happened incident with Quan. I recorded myself and I was talking about that y'all needed to get Ari McDonald more involved. I believe the second game y'all won of the season, your second one of the season, Ari McDonald had 27, I believe, off the bench, and I was thinking, she if someone of Lexi Brown can't get it going, y'all do have other people on the team who can score. Jordan in Canada, who I believe
she's
probably
not on
should
the
be the
team.
scoring guard and just
She's not
mainly in
on the
there
team.
only for facilitating.
She's not on the team.
She's not on the team anymore.
They traded her for Ari McDonald, which when they did the trade, I
That is true.
remember I
I thought Ari McDonald was traded.
no. I tagged the Sparks, or I don't know if I tagged them or if I just like commented on the post and put it on my story, but I was just like let's just say I was not happy because Jordan Canada was a borderline all-star
Yeah,
last year and they traded her away. So if Jordan Canada was on the team, I'd agree a little bit more with your statement. Um Again, going through the
yeah,
motions. Let's see. And you
it's
said
all right. Tough season, long season. Yeah, I think the expectation for the Sparks can be somewhere along kind of like what the Fever do. I mean, and that's not saying that they could make the playoff because I mean, at this rate, are we expecting the Fever to make the playoff? Probably not. But but still still a lot more games to go. But you can't start 1-8 or 2 whatever their record is now and still think you're gonna make the playoffs. However, let's talk about my aces. I want to say that Asia Wilson, damn it, girl, you're killing it out there. Okay, let me tell you. But we really need Chelsea Gray back, and I don't know how much I can say it, but like we just need her out there so badly. Where like I'm watching these games and like and even in the 2 games that we've lost, they're not by much. And granted, like the point differential may look a little wonky like at the end of the game, but if you go down to like the fourth quarter within like 3 or 5 minutes left in the game, you can see where the possessions lie and where the possession is won and where the possession is lost. And it's really just comes down to a miss here, a miss there, and then boom, the game is over. The game we lost to Atlanta. I believe the spread was at -7 for the Aces, and I was telling myself, I was like, you know what, this is a toss-up game because as I told you before, Ryan Howard is my second favorite player in the WNBA, and I don't care what anybody says, such a bucket. But I actually have high hopes for the actual Atlanta team, being that I'm so close to them living in Charlotte. Like I've been to a game or so, but what they do and then what the Aces do. Like we need Chelsea Gray back in those clutch moments, just because like like we can give the ball to Asia down low, but that's easy. Everybody knows the ball's gonna go down to her. But like but it just alleviates the pressure off Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, Kia Stokes, and all of them around. And like we just need her back just to get us going and to really make like a lot of these wins we've been getting, they're not really statement wins. The only statement win we had, I believe, this season was the first game of the season, and then the game against the Fever where we let Caitlin Clark know you're not doing this shit against us, okay? And that was it. But I do believe we need to like once like we haven't, and granted we have yet to have played against the Connecticut's or the Liberty yet, but the Commissioner Cup is right around is here. And the Commissioner's Cup is basically the WNBA, the W's version of the in-season tournament for them. And this is where you see a lot of players trying to really ramp it up and play a lot more serious because the Commissioner Cup means a little something to them. I'm not sure if it's like the NBA where they get where they get a pay from it. I believe I think they do though. I think that the winner does get like $100,000 or something like that for winning it. I believe. I'm not sure though. I have to look that up. I'm not sure if you know though. Do you know?
I've got to look up like the exact prize. I know what it is, but I'm not gonna lie and act like I've been paying attention to what the prize is. Hold on, I found it. Total compensation tops out at 500,000, with the winning team making around 30,000 per player, and the game's MVP taking home an additional
Yeah.
5,000. On the losing team side, players earn 10,000 each. I'm guessing that's the loser of the final. But for you and your aces, I get what you're saying. Chelsea Gray, to me, is the second best player and the second most important player on the Aces team, commonly referred to as the point guard.
For sure.
I think what you're saying is correct. However, when you've won back-to-back championships and most of the league is really a non-factor in a way, you can afford. I feel like it's the equivalent to
Yeah.
the Kansas City Chiefs. And
Chiefs. Yeah.
Sure, people want them to dominate 15-2, 14-3. I think they went 11-6 last year. And so you start saying, is it over, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Then when the postseason comes, everything's clicking and you got all that stuff going. So for a veteran team like the Aces with the championship experience and stuff like that, sure, you would love to have Chelsea Gray right now. But the fact is, they're still going to be one of the most elite teams in the league. They're going to probably be, top two or top three. I can't even really see them below top two at this point in their chance to make a dynasty.
We're number 3 right now.
Playoff seeding doesn't matter as much for them. They can win anywhere. They have the talent to win and beat anybody at any time, and not just beat them, but destroy them. So, sure, do they want home court advantage?
Right.
Every team does. But if they don't have it, that's not really going to do nothing for a team like that. What's more important is that Chelsea Gray comes back healthy and can, put on like she's always done in the postseason. So I don't think it's really too much. If anything, the losses versus the Mercury and especially versus the Dream, of course, those are statement wins for those teams, but it's more indicative of what's going on for those teams and who they got on their team more than it is like the Aces are losing something and nothing like that. The Dream have a really underrated team that should make the postseason. Tina Charles being there helps out.
They will make the playoffs.
I think so. And Tina Charles being there gives them an actual big body down there that can bang with some of these bigger players in the post that can guard or put up points versus a Asia Wilson, a Brianna Jones, John Quayle Jones, all those types. So they're a little bit different than they were last year. So, I mean, it's just props to the Dream. The Aces are all right.
I believe is not so I will agree, we like I said, we do need Chelsea Gray back, like, but I think for me, when I think it's the way that we've actually lost these games is what concerns me. Like, just I can't even say concern, but like the way that we've lost the game is the reason why I say, well, we need Chelsea Gray back, and it's mainly just because, like you just said, like what she does in the clutch time situation or in those clutch moments or just basically in the fourth quarter taking over and get into her spots and knocking down the shots that are necessarily needed to continue to win the game. And when I go look at the game against the Mercury, granted we could have won that game, but it took a prolific scoring a night from Kalia to win that game. She had 37 to win that game, knocking down 7 threes against us. And that's not to say that Kelsey Plum and Jackie Young didn't hit their threes or Asia didn't do her thing. It just took that much of a heroic performance to beat them. I mean, to beat us. And then like I go look at, and then about a couple, I think last week or so, I was watching the game, the Mercury versus the Liberty, and what the Liberty did to them in the first quarter, up 21. And then they somehow bring it back. And then you look at the end of the game. You look at the box score of the game. They only lost by 5, I believe. And the spread on that game was plus 16. Now, granted, I took that, cashed it, but like when I look at when I look at a Mercury team, like for me, I'm looking at him. I'm like, bro, we shouldn't have lost that game, but I do understand like the value in what the Mercury are doing and trying to rebuild. And then like the Atlanta game again, same similar situation. It came down. Ali Zagre and Ryan Howard, they both had big games. I mean, at 27, I think 22 for Ryan Howard, 27 for Ali Zagre. But and Asia had a great game, but we still lost, and that's for me that's a little concerning because I'm like we can't be losing these tight games, and then I wonder like how far Chelsea Gray is on her rehab, being that she was out last year in the playoffs versus it being a whole summer rehab, a whole year coming back. But then I like if she's not going to play in the first half of the season, do you think she plays in the second half of the season when they come back from Paris from playing in the Olympics? Or do you think she plays in the Olympics, Steve? Do you think?
To be honest, I don't even know what the women's Olympic roster team, USA team, is looking like. I haven't really thought. I'm the type of
I don't
person
think they
that
announced it yet.
okay, because I'm about to say I'm really not the type of person. I don't really be knowing much about the Olympics until it just pops up. Like I'm not. When I was a kid, I
Yeah,
used to be
same.
like locked in from the jump. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna lock in probably until like right when it's about to start. But I think she's coming back. At this point, she's basically just day to day. And again,
That's
and
what I'm
this is
saying.
here's the thing. I feel like this is the Charger fan coming out in you. You're not used to winning. You're not used to your teams having much success. So when they not doing the regular season stuff, you just oh my gosh. But you are supposedly an Aces fan, and before that you was a Lynx fan. So you should know something about championships and dynasties. You should know that the regular season only matters so much. We're talking about less than 10 games in for most teams outside of the Fever. I think the Fever have played 11. Everybody else is at like 8 or 9 games
Yeah,
played. So we're basically just like a quarter of the way through the season. I think you gotta
literally.
relax. It's really early, and again, remember you're the Aces are the two-time defending champions. Every team
The cream of
the
the
entire
crop.
season are going to try to destroy them because for some teams that is that is their championship. And also you got to think about it. Um,
Yeah,
for some of these players, like how we was talking about Caitlin Clark and how they're going at her, it's not just for Caitlin Clark. I see a future Hall of Famer with a dynasty team over there. If I drop 37, like Copper did, she's already got her money and she's already established as a star. But if I drop that, a big game versus them,
literally.
people gonna know
MVP.
about yeah, people are going to know about Kalia Copper or whoever the case may be. So it's not just the Caitlin Clark thing.
Yeah.
They're always going to have a target on their back. So I think you need to relax, stop tripping, stop being a Chargers fan, man. I mean that figuratively and
Oh my
literally, and
goodness.
you'll be much better for it, bro.
We'll get into the Chargers. Like I said, we'll get into the Chargers in another series. But like I said, I'm not even. I'm relaxing. I'm fine. Like I won't be pressed. I won't be mad when we lose these games. I just be like, come on, girls. Like what? Come on. Like in my head, I'm thinking like we shouldn't have fumbled that, and I know that we're gonna fumble a couple simply because we are missing Chelsea Gray, and she is our second most important player. But like I told you in the first episode that we just didn't hit record on, I wanted the undefeated season, and I wanted us to make a statement this year. I wanted us to prove to the Liberty that like even though y'all thought y'all had us last year, you didn't. You're still not gonna have us this year. I want Connecticut to know that you might be undefeated right now, but you still ain't got us. Okay, you ain't ready for it, and they look really good. Okay, like all on all three phases. Brianna Thomas, glad to have her back. She's looking good. Alyssa Thomas,
Jones.
always looking great. Dewana Bonner still doing her damn thing. I'm sorry, yeah, Brianna Jones. I'm sorry, yeah, Brianna Jones still looks great. Like I said, all of them look great. Dejanay Carrington, a dog. Like they just got a lot of pieces in there, and they're all gelling in the right area right now. So I'm really happy for them. And I want to know if they can keep it up, really though. Like I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they can go undefeated because a lot of their games have come down to this like last like a minute and a half clutch situation, and miraculously they still win the game by like one. And I'm like, y'all getting lucky on these girls. But I mean, hey, I chalk it up 6-0 or 8-0. I think it is now. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know their record. I just looked at it earlier too.
I don't think there's anything lucky about a top five scorer in WNBA history in DeWanna Bonner, and who I think should have been the MVP last year,
I guess you're right.
Alyssa Thomas. I don't think there's anything. Look, it's playoff experience, it's veteran experience. They've got the coach of the year on their team from last year. So winning those close games, I mean, that's what you expect from a team that was in the second round, and it's got all this experience and it's almost won a championship. So I don't think it's luck. Do I think they're going to win? Do I think they're going to go undefeated? Of course not. I don't think they've played Vegas. I don't know if they've played New York. They might have played Minnesota. And if they do, they've got to run those back. So it's not going to be easy. I do think they have a chance to possibly get a 1 or 2 seed, and we'll see how that works out for them. But never count them out. And
Can we talk about Minnesota right fast though?
Yeah, they're doing well too.
They're doing fucking phenomenal. Okay, no, Nafisa Collier, like 20. What is it? 20. I think it's 21 and a half and 11. Like, man, like I said, she's second in MVP voting right now for me. Like, and I think that's our next topic. Honestly, like, what's your early MVP voting at this point in stage? But just to hit a little bit on about the links, like I don't know if it was a rebuild or not, because they were in the playoffs last year. So I really don't understand like the moves that they made, but they made the right moves, getting Courtney Williams and Alana Smith from Chicago. Like that really helped. And like if you didn't know much about Alana Smith, you know now that she can go get it. Like she can get you 21 in some game, but she's gonna give you about 15 or 11 most games. And a lot of the games, like Nafisa Collier, like once they're playing like these like the Mercury game, like these Mercury teams, like Dallas teams like that, like you're looking at Nafisa Collier not even like doing a lot of the damage work, because a lot of the teams just kind of really gel and really nicely. And then Diamond Miller's finally coming along nicely. Our girl Maddie's coming along nicely. So I mean, like they're honestly one of my interesting teams. Like we said in our earlier episode, like my sleeper teams: Atlanta, Wolves. I mean, not Wolves, but Minnesota and the Storm. Literally though, all three of them, even the Storm, I picked their shit up too, and I'm happy about that, because they started off real rocky, not just shooting well, I say, in a sense.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Maddie. I think he was referring to Maddie Siegrist, but I think is Siegrist not on the wings? I think she's in Dallas. She's in Dallas. So, but to your point, she is.
Maddie's not in Dallas.
Maddie Siegrist is in Dallas. She's playing because Satsu is.
Okay, she may be in Dallas.
Maybe you getting your unis mixed up. You know, it's okay. It's a learning experience for everybody, brother. It's a learning experience for everybody. But yeah, Minnesota's doing great. Courtney Williams, Alana Smith are. First off, how is she gonna be your girl and you don't even know what team she on? It sounds like Cap to me, man.
I do know. She play you. You messing with my mind now, because I know that she got drafted by Minnesota. She's on the Lynx. She was there last year when what? Yeah.
No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't. I remember, and I'm gonna tell you how I know she was on the Lynx.
She got drafted. She got drafted.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna tell you why.
I believe she got drafted in the first round, like
she was
pick 17 or something like that. She was third overall.
I hate to do this on your pod, sir. I watched that draft, and not only did I watch that draft, and she was third overall picked by the Wings, I drafted her in fantasy basketball last year, and she was not it. And I dropped her. And I remember I used
that's last year. Last year she didn't have the touches.
She didn't have a good season. She's definitely.
But so you got to pull that right now. What team is she on?
She's on the Wings. I told you're not locked in. Okay. You're not locked in, Dejan. Stop playing with me. I'm locked in.
I literally thought you're not locked in. You just looked.
No, stop. No,
it's a learning experience.
I caught it when you were talking. But let me just go back to Minnesota. Nafisa Collier is she's averaging like 21 and 9, like you said. I think she's after Asia Wilson, who is a 2-time MVP, I believe. She's having her best season. She's like 27 and 13. It's going to be hard for Nafisa to get past that. But after that, Nafisa Collier is the best player in the league to me. And again, Alyssa Thomas right there under her at third, but playing right now, Nafisa Collier, she can do
Yeah.
everything. She can shoot. She's got the post. She just got a smooth game. She can get physical. She can rebound. She's a good free throw shooter. Like there isn't too much that she doesn't do right. And so that's why the Lynx are, atop of the Western Conference, even though those type of standings don't matter as much in the WNBA anymore. I think they're 6-2.
Right.
Yeah, they're 6-2. And so that would make them third
They're
overall.
6-2.
Or it's,
They're second. They're third.
they're
No, we're
second, I guess.
second.
I guess they're technically second because New York, as of this recording, is 7-2, and they played an extra game. But yeah, so they're second.
Yeah.
That's a good team. I don't think they're a sneaky team anymore. They are now a contender that you have to be mindful for. In the same way that people are mindful for Connecticut. I don't know if they'll get over the hump, but that should be like a pretty dangerous team.
Okay, so let me ask you. Like, we're just gonna pivot a little bit before we get into the MVP talk. We've been watching the WNBA for a while. And the way the W evolves has always been through a big or a wing type of the player, where there'd been like the Candace Parkers. I would say now in this age, I'm like maybe like the last I want to say 5-6 years maybe of the W. It's been all bigs dominating the league. Asia, Brianna, Nafisa, Alyssa, Candace, Liz Cambage. Who else? I wouldn't even. I mean, you could say Maya Moore, but Maya Moore she was a guard who had like a prototype big type of body in the sense, because she was. I mean, she basically was kind of like Nafisa's Collier type build when what you call it, but like. How does that look for guards who come into the WNBA and trying to leave a marker in there when you got to go up against among the trees, and when it comes to like even the markability side of it, minus Caitlin Clark, like how does a guard feel that they can make their imprint on the game as the same way that a big can?
Well, this is what I like about the W is like each team I do feel like has their own identity. And so in the NBA, so many
Right.
teams want to do the same thing. Everybody want to space the floor and shoot threes. Like the big man is significantly less value than it was, 20, 25 years ago, because everybody wants to be the same. Everybody wants to be Steph. In the W, each team has a different way of how they're going to win and how they're going to build their team. And so if you're a guard, if you can draft the Caitlin Clark who can not only space the floor to the 3-point line, but a few feet behind that, then that's great. Sabrina Ionescu is another person who can do something like that. I don't know. It just depends on your team and what you got, because in the W, there's so much versatility. And like Nafisa Collier, she's a forward, and she can do inside and out. She can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
If you can get a wing who can do something like that, or that wing forward, you're probably in a safe space. But it just depends. I mean, every talent is different. Every talent is unique, and every team wants to build their team differently. So it just kind of depends what you're going for. So I wouldn't say sure, the bigs are dominating the league, but I don't think it's the same domination as how we think of how guards are dominating the NBA, because every team is different, and there's still enough quality wing players and quality guard players that you can make something shake with your team. For Dallas, for example, they have bigs, but it's Enrique's team. They have a Natasha Howard and Satu Sa, who are bigs and forwards.
I look at it like a pairing, Satu and Arika.
You said what?
I said I look at it in like a pairing with Satu and Arika. But it's definitely Arika's team. But I don't feel like that team. I don't think they move the same without Satu though.
They don't. But the reason it can't be Satu's team, and I'm a big fan of Satu, is she's hurt far too often throughout her career to consistently be a force. She was a force last year. She was mostly healthy, but she's dealt with injuries since she's came into the league. And that's why I can't feel like it's really a two-woman punch, because she's not there as much. But for sure, having a wing like her, for example, who can space the floor and shoot threes, but also gobble up tons of rebounds, that's great. And that's another way you can run your team.
So just in terms of like the landscape of a W, like if a casual was to ask you, who would you consider a wing in the W? Not like the fours or the fives, like not like this is excluding like Nafisa Collier and Asia and Brianna, things of those nature. Because to me, like when I watch it, I can only point out maybe like two wings that play the ball really like play the ball really well and that kind of can handle their own, which is Benijah Laney Hamilton and Kalia Copper, I believe. They're the only threes in the W where you look at them and you can say, okay, this is kind of what the standard model of a three should be. Someone who knocks down threes, defend, and play at a very high level on both ends of the floor. Versus where the guards come in, a lot of the guards kind of I wouldn't say have the same attribute or skill set because none of they like I said they all have their own identity and what they're looking for. But a lot of the top five guards in the WNBA they do have that similar attribute of shooting threes and creating their own shot and not really even looking to pass to say that much. I mean, like that's not to say that Arika can't pass and Sabrina can't pass because Sabrina was well known to be a passer before coming into the league. But and I mean, we all knew that she could shoot at some capability as well. But like from what she was doing at Oregon, she was passing and getting, and that's how they went on this little championship run that everybody thought they was going to go on until COVID happened. But like I said again, like who do you think are the top wings in the W versus like also the like if you could give me the top five guards in the W, who would those be?
Top five guards. I mean, Enrique, Jewel Lloyd. Jewel Lloyd has kind of struggled to start the season, but I still think she's the best two guard in the league. So it'd be Jewel, it'd be Enrique, it'd be Copper's in there. Ryan Howard is creeping up on that list. You got Jackie Young for sure. You got Sabrina. As far as forwards, I think Ryan Howard, she's also kind of, to me, she's more of a guard forward than a forward center type thing. I think she's a forward. And when Jordan Canada comes back,
I feel like she's a true three.
Yeah, she feels like that, although she's capable of playing positions 1 through 3. When Jordan Canada comes back for that team, Jordan will slot in right there. Then it'll be Alicia Gray, and then it'll be Ryan Howard. So I say Ryan Howard. I say Dewana Bonner. Dewana Bonner is like, she's a 3. I mean, if you've seen Dewana Bonner, she definitely looks like a small forward. Although I think she could play the 4 because of her height. And
definitely.
Who else? Copper to me kind of still fits that mold of a 2-3, more of a 2, but she could, play the 3. And the same thing with Jackie Young, but that's more so because the Aces play more of a 2 forward and 3 guard lineup. So I guess by default she's a small forward sometimes, but it's really just another 2 guard out there. And then Satsu Sabali when she gets back, Natasha Howard, you can consider her small forward, power forward type of group. So I feel like I can't think of a couple more off the top of my head where it's just like marquee forwards that are like strictly small forwards and not something else. But it's a handful.
Yeah. Like I said, even in that handful, I feel like they all have that similar attribute: playing aggressive, and they play both ends of the floor. But like all of the names that you named, Satu does, Ryan does, Jewel Lloyd does to some extent, even to like the guard level of play that she goes up against. But just to go back to the forwards and the threes, they naturally play that both hands on the ball, whether what to call it. But let's move on when you got to go up against among the trees and when it comes to like even the markability side of it, mine is Caitlin Clark. Like, how does a guard feel that they can make their imprint on the game as the same way that a big can?
Well, this is what I like about the W is like each team I do feel like has their own identity. And so in the NBA, so many teams want to do the same thing. Everybody want to space the floor and shoot threes. Like the big man is significantly less value than it was, 20, 25 years ago because everybody wants to be the same. Everybody wants to be Steph. In the W, each team has a different way of how they're going to win and how they're going to build their team. And so if you're a guard, if you can draft the Caitlin Clark who can not only space the floor to the 3-point line, but a few feet behind that, then that's great. Sabrina UNESCO is another person who can do something like that. It just I don't know. It just depends on your team and what you got because in the W there's so much versatility. Um, and like Nafisa Collier, yeah, she's a forward and she can do inside and out. You know, she can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
If you can get a wing who can do something like that, or that wing forward, you're probably in a safe space. But it just depends. I mean, every talent is different. Every talent is unique, and every team wants to build their team differently. So it just kind of depends what you're going for. So I wouldn't say like sure the bigs are dominating the league, but I don't think it's the same domination as how we think of how guards are dominating the NBA because um, every team is different, and there's still enough quality wing players and quality guard players that you can make something shake with your team. For Dallas, for example, they have bigs, but it's Enrique's team. They have a Natasha
Yeah.
Howard and
It
Satu
is.
Saab who are bigs and forwards.
I'm
They're
gonna say,
forwards.
isn't it? I look at it like a pairing, Satu and Arika.
You said what?
I said I look at it in like a pairing with Satu and Arika.
Uh,
But it's definitely
Enrique,
Arika's team. But I don't feel like that team. That team. I don't think they move the same without Satu though.
they don't, but the reason it can't be Satu's team, and I'm a big fan of Satu, is she's hurt far too often throughout her career to
Okay.
consistently be a force. She was a force last year. She was mostly healthy, but she's dealt with injuries since she's came into the league, and that's why I can't feel like it's really a two-woman punch because she's not there as much. But for sure, yeah, having a wing like her, for example, who can space the floor and shoot threes, but also gobble up tons of rebounds, yeah, that's great, and that's another way you can run your team.
So just in terms of like the landscape of a W, like if a casual was to ask you, who would you consider a wing in the W? Not like the fours or the fives. Like not like this is excluding like Nafisa Collier and Asia and Brianna, things of those nature. Because to me, like when I watch it, I can only point out maybe like two wings that play the ball really like play the ball really well and that kind of can handle their own, which is Benijah Laney Hamilton and Kalia Copper, I believe. They're the only threes in the W where you look at them and you can say, okay, this is kind of what the standard model of a three should be. Someone who knocks down threes, defend, and play at a very high level on both ends of the floor versus where the guards come in. A lot of the guards kind of, I wouldn't say have the same attribute or skill set because none of they like I said they all have their own identity and what they're looking for. But a lot of the top five guards in the WNBA they do have that similar attribute of shooting threes and creating their own shot and not really even looking to pass to say that much. I mean, like not to say that Arika can't pass and Sabrina can't pass because Sabrina was well known to be a passer before coming into the league. But and I mean, we all knew that she could shoot at some capability as well. But like from what she was doing at Oregon, she was passing and getting, and that's how they went on this little championship run that everybody thought they was going to go on until COVID happened. But like I said again, like who do you think are the top wings in the W versus like also the like if you could give me the top five guards in the W, who would those be?
Um, Top five guards. I mean, Enrique, Jewel Lloyd. Jewel Lloyd has kind of struggled to start the season, but I still think she's the best two guard in the league. So it'll be Jewel, it'll be
Who?
Enrique, it'll be Copper's in there. Uh, Ryan Howard is creeping up on that list. You got Jackie Young for sure. You got Sabrina. As far as forwards, I think Ryan Howard. She's also kind of to me. She's more of a guard forward than a forward center type thing. I think she's a forward. And
Forgot
when
about her.
Jordan Canada comes
I
back,
feel like she's a true three.
yeah, she feels like that. Although she's capable of playing positions 1 through 3. When Jordan Canada comes back for that team,
Yeah.
Jordan will slot in right there. Then it'll be Alicia Gray, and then it'll be Ryan Howard. So I say Ryan Howard. I say Dewana
That's gonna be
Bonner.
so nasty.
Dewana Bonner is like she's a three. I mean, if you've seen Dewana Bonner, she definitely looks like a small forward. Although I think she could play the four because of her
Yeah,
height and her look.
definitely.
Who else? Copper to me kind of still fits that mold of a 2-3, more of a two, but she could, play the three. And the same thing with Jackie Young, but that's more so because the Aces play more of a 2 forward and 3 guard lineup. So I guess by default she's a small forward sometimes, but it's really just another 2 guard out there. And then Satu Sabali when she gets back,
Yeah.
Natasha Howard, you can consider her small forward, power forward type of group. So I feel like I can't think of a couple more off the top of my head where it's just like marquee forwards that are like strictly small forwards and not something else. But it's a handful.
Yeah. Like I said, even in that handful, I feel like they all have that similar attribute. Playing aggressive, and they play both ends of the floor. But like all of the names that you named, Satu does, Ryan does, Jewel Lloyd does to some extent, even to like the guard level of play that she goes up against. But just to go back to the forwards and the threes, they naturally play that both hands on the ball, whether what to call it. But let's move on and wrap this up with our MVP voting. I believe I'm not sure if we hit that or not, but we may have did. Did we hit that? I believe we did, didn't we? You said we did.
Yeah. I said my
Okay.
three.
Well, I
I
guess
said
that wraps up the show then. I don't know.
yeah. I'm gonna say I
You
said
said no. I said
Asia,
my three as well.
Nafisa, and Alyssa. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we did say that. Yeah, we hit that then. Well, that concludes our show. Thank you for tuning in, the fans of the game. We'll be back with you next time. Continue to enjoy our content. You can like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. You may like and follow us on all platforms that are available to you. Until next time, we remember that we are fans of the game. Thank you.